I love talking to people and they say, oh, the worst time in the world to be alive now. You know, there's global warming, there's, Ukraine war, the Israel war. So they're like, oh, it's like, okay, would you rather be born, if you had a magic wand, when would you like to live? When would have been a better time for you to live? I say 100 years ago, and they say, oh, 100 years ago they were burning women at the stake for being witches, and women couldn't work, women couldn't, they couldn't buy things, they weren't allowed to have money, and so it was a terrible time for women. But then they say, oh, but today is terrible because people are so materialistic. And then I said, oh, okay, so 100 years ago women weren't allowed to buy things, but now they're shopping too much, right? And she's like, no. This lady I just talked to, she said, no, but now everyone's buying too much. So then when was the magic time? She's like, oh, maybe 500 years ago? Was that a better time for a woman? And then, so it's like, it's just funny how to say, oh my God, the world's fucked, we can't have kids. You know, I hear this all the time from women. Say, oh, the world's fucked, everything's ending, never the worst time to be alive than right now. Now is the worst time to be alive. So when was a good time? 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 2,000 years ago? You know, Roman Empire, is that when you want to live? Pre-Roman Empire? You know, and then she was like, okay, yeah, pre-Roman Empire, that would have been good. So, I mean, so what she wants is to go back to pre-Roman Empire, but you know, back then, there was no monogamy. Like in Celtic societies, in indigenous Britannia, before the Romans came, the Germanic Celts they were just Celts then, because the Anglo-Saxons hadn't migrated there. So it was just pure Celts, right? In Britannia, in England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland. They just shared. No one knew who the father was, right? So men could fuck whoever they wanted, all the time. So, you know, if you're just like an average woman, you're never going to get any attention ever. And back then there was like harsh winters, there was floods, there was famines, 3,000 years ago. So it would have been probably advantageous to have a man. I think as a woman on your own, pre-Roman times in England, I'm not sure how much more freedom a woman would have had to be like, yeah, I'm just free because I'm in pre-Roman times. This is the perfect time now for liberal Western women. So this is their ideal time. It's pre-Roman Celtic Britannia. So you can have sex with whoever you want. Anyone can buy whatever they want. It's a matriarchal society. Because no one knows who the father is, men don't care for their family. So women have to act masculine. So in pre-Roman Celtic Britannia, women were almost as big as men and masculine, big shoulders, right? Because they had to do manly things. Because men and women, there was no Christian values. So there was hypergamy, which means men don't stick around to look after the kids because they don't know who the father is. So women have to be like men. So you're just living like a man. So your job would have been like hunting all day and fending off other tribes. So other tribes of women will come in and try and take your resources. You have a beef with a neighbor, they may burn your wheat crops, so then all your kids are going to starve to death. So, when is the best time to be alive? You know what I mean?